Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my honorable colleagues for allowing me to speak today. The first words I spoke in this House were on December 6, 2019, in remembrance of the massacre at École Polytechnique. Today, I think of the victims and the families of those lost. And indeed, I think about Canada and what this day means for us as a nation. I reflected then, as I do now, on the frame of mind of the individual who carried out the heinous act, and what could have possibly motivated a person to tear down the pillars of a community, to snuff out bright lights. Then and now, I will say the words anti-feminism, misogyny, violence against women, and to us LGBTQIA+ peoples continues to steal from us as a society. We lose aunties and sisters, friends, teachers, students. These words we share are important. Our remembrance is essential, and our actions must be immediate. Since last December, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed and exacerbated the realities for women at risk, particularly marginalized women, including trans women, girls, femme-identified and non-binary people, racialized women and women of color, Indigenous women and immigrant women. We see article after article about record numbers of calls to women's shelters for those fleeing violence. Survey after survey describing the increasing severity and frequency of the violence and torment women are facing in their own homes during lockdowns. And we see the oozing growth of online vitriol and hatred. In April, we saw another terrible massacre in Nova Scotia, which began with intimate partner violence. 22 people lost their lives that day, 13 of them women. I am also haunted by Chantel Moore's story. This young Indigenous woman was shot by municipal police in my home province in June, in her home alone without an explanation. 2 weeks ago, the final report on the implementation of the Merlot-Davidson settlement agreement shocked many of us with revelations of systemic and horrific misogyny and violence within the ranks of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The Honourable Michelle Bastarac, independent assessor, describes Canada's national police force as having a toxic culture and recommends nothing short of an independent external review to reform policing in Canada. We absolutely must undertake this work immediately. When Indigenous women disappear from their communities, their families cannot trust that their lives will be valued. As long as our policing institutions are fraught with misogyny and racism, police cannot possibly hold citizens accountable for their gender-based hate and violence. Today, we remember the women whose lives were taken on December 6, 1989 at L'École Polytechnique by a man who hated the women that dared to study. We must also remember Chantel Moore and those lost in Nova Scotia. As each week passes, we lose more. In 2018, there were nearly 100,000 victims of intimate partner violence. 4 of every 5 were women. That year, 87 people were murdered by their intimate partner. Amid this pandemic, we have come together in the name of health. 2020 has proven that when we are united with a common goal, when we tackle a societal crisis with intensity, albeit desperation, we can move mountains. We know change is hard, but we have seen progress. Bill C-3 is a testament to moving the needle, legislating training on sexual assault for judges. So I challenge my colleagues in this House, and I challenge Canadians. What will it take for us to come together and to recognize gender-based violence as the crisis that it is? We need to move this mountain. May we always remember this day. Thank you.